My favorite thing about my dad is his positive influence on other people and his leadership. And one thing that I wish he would do more, or I guess we would do more, is more family vacations and fun family activities.
My favorite thing about my dad is that he always provides me with the support that I need and the resources I need to be successful. My dad owns Eyre Bus, and he also rents out office spaces and parking spots. My dad always makes sure to come to work with a positive attitude and getting closer and closer to reaching his goals every day. I wish my dad would show more empathy when I'm sharing my struggles and weaknesses.
My favorite thing about my dad is his work ethic. He is someone that strives for success all the time. His relentless pursuit of his goals and his constant commitment to his family, his work, his peers just shows his unwavering dedication. And he is turning his dreams into a reality. And every morning he wakes up trying to thread the needle, as he would say, to try to get closer to a goal that he has set for himself. He overcomes every single challenge with a positive attitude, and he works even harder at it. And I have learned an abundance from him. He has shared so much wisdom with me, and he has taught me so much. And as he would say, do hard things on purpose. My dad owns a family bus company, and he plays a huge role in their progress. He makes sure that the business is running efficiently and properly. And right now he's in the making of finding his dream team to success while bringing in the most qualified people to expand and to better their company as a whole. He goes to work every day prepared and is ready to share his new amazing ideas and is ready to take action all the time. I wish my dad would celebrate himself more. He has come a long way these past few years bettering himself. He has fostered a positive atmosphere encouraging open communication, harmony, and teamwork with prioritized family time. He demonstrates such leadership qualities, and he's always continuing to improve. He sets high standards, and he always provides guidance. And with all that said, I just wish that he would celebrate himself more to who he is today, what he has achieved, and that is all truly a testimony to his success.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the BizDad podcast. Today, I am excited to talk to Matt Eyre. He was introduced to me by Frank Smolin, who I think was on like episode 2 or something like that at the beginning. And I really have enjoyed my time hanging out with Matt. We just got done in Vermont a couple months ago, having a good time there. That was awesome right up until I crashed and blasted my head against the ice. But besides that, it was a great time. But I really look forward to our conversation. Every time I've hung out with you, it's been an absolute blast, and you're an inspiring guy. So if I can, let's introduce yourself, tell us about your family, and then tell us about your business.
Oh, thanks, Adam. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and I've certainly enjoyed our time together at the Go Abundance events. Yeah, so I am blessed with 3 amazing kids. My son, Easton, is 13. He's in 7th grade. He is a big ice hockey player and plays lacrosse. My daughter, Brinkley, just turned 17 yesterday, so we celebrated her birthday.
Happy birthday.
She is a junior in high school and plays field hockey at a high level, and she is a 3-time state champion for her high school. And my daughter, AJ, is 18. She's at the University of Maryland for field hockey. She's actually doing something pretty cool. She's gray shirting, so she went to college early. And she also is a 3-time state champion. And she's also the Howard County Player of the Year.
So sports don't really run very well in your kids' lives,
that is
right?
They
don't really like that. Yeah.
Reports back to my beautiful wife, Allison.
Yeah.
And we met in college. We were very fortunate to meet in college. And then we graduated. We spent 2 years out in Vail together with some friends. Nice. And then we kind of moved back here to Maryland.
Awesome.
And got going at my business, which is Eyre Bus Service. And now recently, Eyre Heavy Duty Fleet Services. So we diversified out of busing some because buses were a challenge to work on. So I said, hey, if we're having a difficulty with this, other people are having a difficulty with this. So I saw it as an opportunity. And then we created Eyre Heavy Duty Fleet Services, where we work on other people's buses, heavy duty trucks. And then we were working on RVs for a while during COVID because everybody bought RVs.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, adapting and overcoming to the market and what you're seeing and taking opportunity. I love that.
Taking an opportunity. I'm very much like an entrepreneurial guy, and I'm the visionary, and I've got lots of ideas. So that is
hopefully you have a good integrator that puts that into effect.
We just started EOS a few months ago, and we just hired a COO, and he started on Monday, March the 4th.
That's awesome.
So we are thrilled. That was one of my number one initiatives, coming back from actually Lake Oconee that was October.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Well, I'm going to dig into a lot of that business stuff here in a minute, but I kind of want to rewind and figure out who you are, like from where you grew up, what your dad was like, what it was like growing up with your dad. Did you know your dad's dad or anything like that? What your parents and grandparents were like?
Sure. So my grandparents, on my dad's side, were farmers, and it's an interesting story how they started Eyre Bus. My grandfather was actually a dairy farmer, and he drove a milk truck around and would actually go to all the other dairy farms in the area. He would pick up all the milk and then drive it to the milk, whatever the plant was called, for the processing. And he would have to carry all the milk off the truck to the plant and back and forth and back and forth. He said, this is a lot of work, but he really liked driving. So he said, if I drive a bus, the cargo can get on and off the vehicle without me having to do anything. And so he bought one school bus. It's an interesting story. I won't get into all the details on that, but they bought one school bus back in 1947. And then here we are, over 75 years later, with a fleet of 30 motor coaches and looking to continue to grow and diversify. We did have COVID, of course, was awful on us, and we finally come out of COVID, and we are in full swing, and we are in growth mode, and we are trying to make a real impact, here at the business.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I did not realize this. You're the third generation running this. I don't think I knew that. I may have, but I don't recall knowing that. So if he bought one bus in 1947, when did your dad jump into the business, and kind of how did all of that continue to work as it was growing?
Sure. So my dad, they grew up. So the kitchen table was like in the house. The buses were parked in the backyard, and my grandfather was the mechanic, and my grandmother was, on the phones and doing the scheduling, and the drivers would come into the kitchen table and get their orders. And so you were very much, my dad and his brother were cleaning the buses and driving the school buses. And so my dad has a story. He didn't have much of a college experience, so he would go to the University of Baltimore he would go do a school bus run in the morning, go to college in the middle of the day, and then come home and do an afternoon school bus run. And he always tells that story. But that's what that life was like growing up there.
Okay, so he got involved into it pretty young and was just
very young.
Yeah, did he stay?
My dad continued to. They moved from the original house and built a big corporate headquarters here in Glen Elg, Maryland. And it was a 6-acre parcel they developed, and we have a nice big corporate headquarters now with a big garage. And then they also diversified and built a shopping center at the same time in front of the Eyre Bus headquarters. And so that was a great opportunity for my dad, because he built several shopping centers after that. And that's probably what, if you would say, what is my dad most proud of? It's the 4 shopping centers that he built.
Awesome. Yeah, that's incredible. So was your dad a part of the family business the entire time? Did he go off on his own for a little while and come back, or how was that for him?
No, great question, Adam. So my dad and his brother were in the business the whole time working. Okay. And up until and so I work with my brother, Brad. And so we work very well together. We have a very harmonious relationship, which is great in the office, very positive. We both had different skill sets. And so my brother and I work very well together. And we just, one of the initiatives this year was business succession planning. So all the ownership got transferred from my dad to my brother and I. And so my brother and I are now 50-50 owners of the business. So that was a big initiative this year as well. Get the ownership transferred and all the papers and documents.
Yep. So is your dad not a part of it at all anymore, or is your dad still?
That is correct. As of January 1st this year, 2024, the final piece, the final piece was transferred. The final paperwork was signed.
Yeah, and now he gets to just sip Mai Tais and enjoy some retired life.
He spends a lot of time spends his time in Naples, Florida, and it's beautiful and warm. And he's very good at working on his health. And so my dad loves health. And so he's down there exercising every day and playing tennis and being in the sun. So I'm very very happy for him and very proud that he likes to work on his health. He wants to stay healthy. So keep active.
That's awesome. And that's especially after retirement, that's going to be extremely needed. Like, because so many men after they retire, they just lose focus. They lose their ability to continue on. They lose their mission, and it goes downhill from there. But, if he's focused on his health and enjoying life, then that makes a huge difference.
He certainly is.
Yeah, my dad has lost a ridiculous amount of weight since he retired. A, he's on the golf course like 5 days a week, so that helps. But B, there's no more stress in his life. He worked in a prison for 26 years, and he was in the military for 16 years before that. And just like, it just sleeping in the middle of the day and, going to work in the middle of the night, and he was just wore out. And now he's like the spryest I've ever seen him. It's ridiculous.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels good to see, too, because that's not something I remember seeing growing up. But was your dad always into health growing up? Was that something that he was always kind of focused on and something you always saw him do?
He really enjoyed tennis.
Okay.
Tennis and skiing were his favorite hobbies for sure. We had a tennis court at the house. And he and my mom both played a lot of tennis and still do. Kind of have graduated a little bit to pickleball, but still play a lot of tennis. And that was the big sport growing up for us at the house was tennis.
Awesome. Yeah, the pickleball down here in Florida is a game changer. It's ridiculous how many people play pickleball down here in Florida, especially in the retirement communities. But so I remember you mentioning, I think on the pre-call or in the notes, you were talking about your annual ski trips with the family. How was that? Do you remember that starting as a young kid, or was that when did that start, and how did that kind of affect your thought process?
Sure. I love our family ski trips were probably the most fun and most looked forward to. Activity of the year. We all were in the same school, so we all had the same break, and we would go to places like Deer Valley and Beaver Creek, and skiing very quickly became my favorite hobby. And so those trips I would look forward to them all year, and we would be with the family, and it would be beautiful. And normally we had some other friends and families that were out there, so those were always a good time. And one thing that I'm really proud of, one of my bucket list items for my life, I was like, I want to go helicopter skiing. And so when I just got out of college, before we had kids, I said, this is going to be it. I'm probably not going to be able to do this once kids and work start. And so I got to go. We booked a trip to Whistler, and I said, Dad, you're coming with us. And I got my brother Brad to go, and we had one of our other good buddies was there, and my brother-in-law was there, but he's an actor, and he got pulled away to do an audition, which is unfortunate. But we had one of my most cherished photographs as we went helicopter skiing in Whistler with my dad, my brother Brad, and a good friend of ours, Jim. And to this day, we have that picture still. My dad still has it proudly displayed at the house. There we are in front of this big yellow helicopter with beautiful background, the helmets and the gear. And it was certainly a trip of a lifetime. And I'm talking to my son now, who is 13, about, he obviously loves skiing too. And he's talking about wanting to go helicopter skiing one day. So I certainly look forward to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and when you join a group like GoBundance, that becomes an opportunity that can happen almost every year. So
guys are doing big things. Yeah,
we've done that. That's something I've been wanting to do, but I tend to be a rather broken guy. So my fear is always if I fall, if something goes on, and like one of my terrible injuries act up, I'm on the backside of nowhere. I'm like, I really don't want. I don't mind taking the helicopter in, but I really don't want to take the helicopter out, because that's where it's a bad route. The helicopter in is fun. The helicopter out usually sucks.
Not so good, right?
Not so much. We were doing some four-wheeling up in Tennessee when we had our first au pair, so years ago, and the four-wheeler flipped over, and our au pair was on the back, and it landed on top of her. And she broke, I'll ease the story in. She broke a couple of her ribs, but they were the backside, and they thought that she broke her back. Because they weren't able to move her at all, because the ribs are pretty excruciating and they were attached to that section. So she ends up, she had been in the country maybe a month, and now we're having to call 911. They've got to bring in like this, one of the utility vehicles with the stretchers on the side, going through all the rivers and stuff to get to her, strap her onto that thing, and then drive her on out. and then they have to pick her up in a helicopter that lands on an overpass. So the helicopter lands on an overpass, I load her in it and fly her away down to Knoxville. And I was like, oh my gracious, welcome to America. Like, this
That's
is
quite a story.
So we load all of our stuff in and chase her down the highway to get to the hospital, because nobody can go with her. But so when I think about back skiing like that and jumping out of a helicopter, I'm like, yeah, the drop off is fine, but you bring out the orange and yellow helicopter to pick me up, it's going to be a bad day. I don't need that. But hopefully, it sounds like that went well for you guys. So it won't be. It did.
Everyone made it out, and we got some great pictures, and just making memories.
Yeah, that's awesome. So your 13-year-old, how long has he been skiing? Do you still do annual ski trips yourself or your family, or how does that work?
So I am able to get away with my son. We do squeak away a little bit, at least once a year for skiing. We've been to Killington the last 2 years, and my daughters their schedule is high demand, or it has been extremely high demand. And it's been very little opportunity to get away. We were able to get to Utah over Christmas for several years. My wife's family had an awesome house across the street from the canyons, and so we were able to go skiing a good bit there when we could get away. So a lot of times they have field hockey over the Christmas break, and that will kind of throw a wrench in things. And but it is what it is, and they are incredible athletes, and what they've been able to do has been a lot of sacrifice. But where they are today, with their physical abilities to play field hockey, where they are mentally, it certainly has been worth it. And I'm super proud of both my daughters for the awesome individuals they become. Just incredible athletes on and off the field.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, 6 state championships in the house, and I'm sure more of them are going to continue as your son grows up. And your daughter's a junior now, so probably we'll see if another one comes out before she graduates high school. But that is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys have,
it's all my wife. It's not me. I was
just going to ask, like, I mean, you're an in shape dude. You love to ski. You love to do all that stuff. So, like, is sport something that you did growing up at all, or was that not?
We did
not something you did
but
much?
I can't hold a candle to what my wife was able to accomplish in her field hockey and lacrosse career throughout her life. She was an amazing gymnast. Girls that she was competing against in middle school, they went on to the Olympics. So she was right there competing at the highest level in the country. And then she went on to be an incredible field hockey and lacrosse player at Randolph-Macon, where we both went to school, as did Frank Smolin. And so my wife and Frank are both in the Hall of Fame at Randolph-Macon.
Nice.
And my wife still holds records there today for some of her goals, accomplishments in field hockey and lacrosse.
That's awesome.
Driving down 95, exit 92, Ashland.
Stop by the school.
Randolph-Macon's right there. You can see Frank and Allison on the wall of the Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. Yeah, so they both showed you up rather well in the sports side of the house, it sounds like.
Yeah, so my wife was an amazing, she would coach the kids for many years in both sports, and got them, to the levels where they needed to be. And she's just been an incredible driving force, and really been a great, leader and guider of the children and throughout their athletic life.
Awesome. So you guys met in college, but how did you guys kind of build your relationship as you were, before getting engaged and getting married?
Sure, it's a great question, Adam. Thanks. We were actually friends for a couple years in college. We were not dating, and we had a really neat thing. We had a Jan term, where one semester was just in January, and you could do a trip abroad. And so our junior year, we both signed up for the Italy trip, and we became really, really good friends on the trip. And then the senior year came around, I go, man, I think I'm going to try to date her. And then we started dating our senior year, and really have been together ever since.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because you mentioned your college, you're doing an Italy trip. So were you a part of the family business already while you were in college, or what did you do, or were you doing it while you were in high school, college? How did that kind of play in?
My friend and I were very much entrepreneurs, and like coming out of middle school and high school. Mm-hmm. So we started actually a DJ business. And we went to Bill's Music House in Catonsville. They had all the guitars, speakers, and amps. Mm-hmm. And my mom went with us, and we said, we want to be DJs. And this was a lot of money back then. So she co-signed a loan for $1,000. My friend Mark and I bought Yamaha speakers, PV amps, mixers. This is when it was tape. We had tapes and DVDs. And so coming out of middle school, going into high school, we started a DJ business called M&M DJs, Mark and Matt. And so literally we weren't even 16 yet. And our parents were driving us to jobs on the weekends. And then sure enough, Mark was a little bit older than me. He turned 16. It was maybe a freshman, sophomore year. I can't remember. And then so we could finally drive ourselves. But so we stayed out of trouble in middle school, and we were always working. And so very quickly, we were doing other schools dance, our schools dance, pool parties. We even did a wedding or two. And so we were making money in high school. And we were charging $100 an hour, and we thought it was the best gig in the world because we would just go back and forth, tapes and CDs, and we would mix them, and we would give away posters for whoever, for prizes. And then very quickly we paid off the $1,000 loan, and we said, we need to up our game some more. Let's get some lights, some DJ lights. So went back to Bill's Music House. We got another $1,000 loan, paid off the lights, and then we were debt free. And we went all through high school, making money, staying out of trouble. And then went to college. And then it was after college, we moved out to Vail, and it was important for the family business. One of the rules my dad wanted us to do was work outside of the business for at least 2 years to get some perspective. So I spent 2 years out in Vail, because skiing being a favorite hobby of mine. I said, this is the opportunity to do this. So after graduating college, we drove out there and had worked at the top of the mountain at Lion's Head. And this is when shape skis were just coming out. And I worked at a ski test center, and we could try different skis out, many as you want over the course of the day. And then my wife, Allison, was the manager at the restaurant at Lion's Head. And so we would literally go to work together and ride the gondola up to the top of Lion's Head and go to work. And it was a beautiful 2 years. And we had, I'll say, ski jobs in the winter, and we had golf jobs. We lived on a par 3 in Eagle Vale, and it was beautiful golf course. And I was the chef actually at the clubhouse for lunch. That was the job.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I think I want to say Frank said the same thing, that his dad had him work outside of the company. I don't remember if his dad had him do it or if he did it. But that's one of the reasons I asked if your dad, stayed right in the business or he got out first. But it sounds like your dad had you already, take the break. Was that something that he learned? Or did he tell you why he wanted you to get that experience outside beforehand?
Just for gaining perspective.
Okay.
I didn't, wasn't like I had a super mega office career executive job, but it was a time to just really enjoy life. And we met a lot of great people. We had a lot of great times, and that was the time to do it, because when you get into kids and work and life, it is a different life, and it is pedal to the metal, and it is a different, you're doing different things, good things, but different things. So that was the time to fit that in for us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then that makes a lot of sense to me too. Just to kind of, and it's I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have a family business, but I would imagine coming in as the owner's son kind of changes the perspective from the employers or employees next to you as well. Like, you're an heir. That's why you're doing this or doing that. Was that a problem when you came back?
Well, I certainly wasn't given a glamorous job right out of the gates. We worked in all the different departments, and worked in our tour department, worked in our charter department, we worked all through the company in different areas, and just learned as much as I could.
Okay. So your wife, she obviously saw you doing the DJ stuff when you guys were in college, and knew that was stuff you did, and knew that you had a family business. What conversations did you guys have about what life was going to be like after those 2 years? Like, were you guys already, planning the future together as far as what that goes? Or was it more just like, hey, let's just enjoy these years and see where that goes?
We enjoyed those years out there, and then I always knew that I would come back and try to take on the family business and try and take it to the next level. And so we moved back here, and she moved with me, and and then she was able to find a job after a few months, and she quickly became very successful in her career, and she was doing her thing and I was doing my thing. And then a year later we were pregnant with our first child, AJ.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. One of the things I say to people all the time is that the number one decision you can make in your life is who you marry. Like that is going to make or break who you are. And there's too many, especially when I was in the military, I saw it constantly, the amount of divorces and, dads that I never saw with their kids because they never saw their kids. So I didn't even know they were dads type of thing. You guys have been married for, going to be 25 years this year. What would you say, you when you were, knew that you were going to want to date Allison and you were getting ready to marry her, what do you think was the impetus to say, no, this is why I know I want to be with her for a long time? And what would you say is the secret to, or secret, probably the wrong word, but the keys to how you guys have lasted almost 25 years at this point?
I would say you just want to be the best. You want to be an amazing partner. It's a partnership for sure. And you want to try to have fun. I would highly suggest, I just finished reading, the 5 Love Languages. I think it's Gary Chapman? And that's an amazing book to help you understand your wife, your partner, let's say. That goes both ways, their love language. And it's really important to keep that love tank full. And that was, reading that was very educational. And it's, you have to communicate. And so that way, keeping the lines of communication open. And you want to show up, you want to be able to show up for your wife the way she wants you to show up. And you definitely want to be able to understand that.
Yeah. How have you kind of, was this something did you guys read that type of thing together? Was this something you guys have communicated about a lot throughout your marriage to know that you're showing up the right way? Or did you learn by falling on your face a lot?
It was more as of recent, to be honest. Okay. We've been great partners, and we haven't had any trouble over the years. But after going to a lot of the Go Abundance events and just trying to be a better husband, be a better father, learning just how am I showing up. When I came back from Stowe after Nick Stageberg spoke, he said, "How are you showing up for your wife and your kids?" And I took some notes right away. And I said, you know what? I need to ask my kids. So as soon as I came home, I asked each of my kids individually. I said, hey, look, I'm reflecting on 2023. I want to how can I be the best father for you in 2024? What do you need? How can I be the best father for you? What do you need? Maybe, maybe I'm not seeing something, you don't know until you ask. And then, so I also asked my wife 3 questions when I got back. I said, I wanted to make sure that I was showing up for her. And I said, I apologize if I haven't. And I said, I want to know, I said, what embarrasses you the most about me? What are you the most proud of about me? And then I said, I want to make sure, and I said, what is your love language? And I asked those 3 questions when I got back from Stowe, Vermont, just recently. And because I had not read the funny thing is we had received the Love Languages book as a wedding gift. Okay. I hadn't read it for 25 years. Yeah. I just read it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and to and I think that's one benefit about. Well, I know it's a benefit. There is that classic. You are the 5 people you hang around with most. But when we get around, guys, and I'm saying that because we're guys and it's a guys group. But when we get around guys who are like-minded and driving forward and trying to push and grow and be better all the time, that all that does is help us each become better men. One thing that I personally struggle with is I don't know if it's a admitting to needing to make those improvements. I don't think that's necessarily a problem because I know where I need to. But when I come back from the event, actually putting all of that into practice, I know that I need to do it. I know that I want to do it. What are your keys to success in saying, hey, this is how I actually implement the things that I'm taking back from these events?
Great question, Adam. So I have been taking, I'll just give you a quick window into my world. And so when I came back from Lake Oconee, this is my journal. I had 9 initiatives from Lake Oconee that I wanted to do in business and in life for my family. And every single day, 9 initiatives was a lot. And I'm still working through them. And I would look at them every single day. And in each day I would say, am I moving the needle forward in at least one of these initiatives. And they're still ongoing. Then, so the first one was we needed to hire an integrator at work. So that was the number one. And we put who can help us with that? We want to set up a holding company. So we're going to restructure our existing company and streamline to get ready for acquisitions. And we needed some better financial data. So we were working with a financial consultant to help us with some financial dashboards. We wanted to get a business line of credit in place. I wanted to get a personal line of credit in place. We wanted to do our business succession planning, the estate planning, and the ownership transfer. We wanted to get that done. We were almost through all of our personal estate planning. I'd recommend to any of the dads out there, get on that, get to that. That was a big topic in Lake Oconee, was get your personal affairs in order. If you love your family and your children, do not mess this up. So we put the pedal down on that. And we were about 90% done on all our wills, trusts, medical directives, and we just have to get some beneficiary forms signed on all the accounts. So they go, they the trust. We signed up with a new financial planner so they can help us personally and with the business because they're really tied closely together. That was kind of a missing component to our life planning on the business side and personally. And then we wanted to implement EOS. And so every day I said, what am I doing in these areas? And so if I kept moving the ball forward on these 9 initiatives, that things would change in 2024. So I'm hoping to be on 7 to 8 in 5 years. And nice. Camille says 3. He says, Matt, you get there in 3.
I think you can.
But he said, I needed, these are so I'm hoping when I get interviewed to 3 years on 7 to 8, I said, the year 2024 is the year that we made things happen, implementing all these things, doing all these things, taking massive action. So just been massive action, Matt, since I got back.
Awesome.
So
I love it. Yeah, I remember you mentioning the massive action Matt in Vermont, and I loved hearing it. It was really because you guys, we have quite a few Matts that are going on, especially at one of the dinner tables we were at. So massive action Matt and all the different Matts going on. So I love it. It sounds like what was that? October was Oconee?
October 20. Oh, this past
October 23, right? Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
And now it's the middle of March at the time we're recording this. It's probably going to be the middle of the summer by the time this comes out. But it sounds like you've already accomplished almost all of your 9 initiatives on that list. When you take those initiatives home, who do you have holding you accountable? Do you bring your wife in on those initiatives? Like, what kind of planning does she have involved in that as well?
She's a great partner and a great help. And when I need help, I say, I need, like on certain things, I say, can you help me with this? But literally, I just would sit down at my desk when I got to work every day. Boom. Was highly motivated to turn the needle up to make, I guess it's about your why. And so my why was to be able to leave a legacy for my kids. We want to acquire multiple businesses. I want to be able to set up a family office. I want to have a litany of companies, under the holding company, and then so my children could run one of these different companies as time goes on. And so that's my why, to be able to leave a legacy for my children. I want to be able to teach them about investing as soon as possible. I'm talking all the time to my kids about investing, and I want them to be educated and knowledgeable about this stuff as soon as possible. Talking about, because my kids will be getting apartments soon or houses when they come out of college, talking about teaching them about house hacking and just all the different ways to get started and acquiring wealth. I want them to be, I don't want them to have to work as hard as I have. Yeah. I want them to be smarter.
For sure. And that's, I never learned any of that growing up. It wasn't until I was in my early to mid 30s before I really realized that like investing was a thing and I should do that. So I feel like I always got a late start in the game. So I'm trying to pass that same information on to my kids. How have you best been handing off that information, and how are your kids, and how much do your kids know about your business and what you do in that realm?
I talk about it. So I'm 50. I'll be fit. I'm 49. I'll be 50 this year. Okay. So highly motivated to get things going. So I talk about my work. My kids I let them know, like when I come back from Go Abundance events, I share what I learn, what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And one cool thing that I brought back was the bucket list stuff. And I can talk about that in a little bit, but also like the miracle morning stuff. And so I created, after reading like Vivid Vision. So I'm a visionary guy. So I created a vision board, and it sits right there in our coffee room in the morning. And I tell my family's on there. This is the goals. This is where I'm heading. This is what I'm working towards every day. Like these are the visions. And so in the morning, sitting through silence and doing affirmations, and then hitting the vision board, visualizing where we're going, what we're doing. And so my kids and family are very much a part of it. I'm telling, we got a beach house on there. We got the family office on there. We got some flex industrial space. They like to own a mobile home park, these different things. And there's a picture of us on a chairlift, all 5 of us skiing.
Nice.
And for that what that symbolizes to me is the family doing fun things, but also on the chair, meaning enjoy the ride. And so that's this, they're very much a part of the vision, and they see it every day. It sits in the room, and I'll share very much about miracle morning stuff and I am statements and visions, and it's funny with the I am statements. I recommended the other dads is to try to get your kids to say I am statements. So I'll be in the car with my son, Easton, and I'll say, Easton, I'm talking about I ams and this and that. I'll say, I want you to say, do you believe that you are an amazing ice hockey player, or you are an incredible athlete? And I say, Easton, I want you to say, I am an incredible athlete, or I am an amazing ice hockey player. So I've tried it with all of my kids. They don't like doing it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I'm like, my kids don't either.
You have to visualize, believe, speak it, visualize it, be incredible. They don't like doing it. It's really.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I don't like doing it, right? Like it's uncomfortable even for me as an adult. So I would imagine, I don't know. It could go both ways. Do I not like it because of the, do I actually believe it? And is it just like, oh, I'm just faking this, or do I not like it because I don't know why? But a kid, you would think that like they don't like, what do they feel judged by it? Like what what's the issue with it? But for some reason my kids don't like to say those things either, right? And I think that maybe it is a true, like maybe they just don't believe it, so it's hard for them to say it out loud. They may say, yeah, Dad, I agree with what you're saying, but not the heart has to really be in it to say I am an amazing ice hockey player. Like your heart has to really be there for that. So what have you found is a way that has helped them, or maybe you haven't found it yet, a way to really help them overcome that so that they aren't afraid to say that and they start working towards it?
I haven't gotten there yet. I'll let you know.
Yeah, because like my 9-year-old, right? He's 4th grade, good golfer, loves to be out there, but he is comparing himself constantly to all the other golfers out there that are really good. So he'll compare himself to the number one. So if he's comparing himself to the number one, then of course he's not a good golfer because, well, I'm not the number one, So like, oh, I'm not a good golfer. I'm terrible at this. And I'm like, no, like you're a really good golfer. Like if I brought any other 9-year-old out here, you're going to smoke them. You're just playing at a higher level and seeing these kids that you're striving to be more like. So, it's been difficult to try to encourage that because it's just like, no, I see the other kids, what they're doing. Like I'm not them. And it's like, but I want you to be you and just enjoy being you, because you have some really exceptional kids at sports. Like what has that been like raising them in the sports world, and how has it been to like fight through those mindset shifts that need to happen?
It's been busy. Yeah. It's been busy. My wife did most of the heavy lifting, a lot of driving over the years. And just recently started working with a mind, Dr. T, Armand, and they started recently working with a mind coach for sports. The Mindset Experience is his podcast, and that's just as of recent. But got to give them all the help they can get. They're both going to go to, my daughter currently is at University of Maryland, Division I, Big Ten field hockey. My other daughter, Brinkley, will be gray shirting there next year as well. And so it's just about give them all the tools to be successful once they're there. It's obviously high intensity, high level, high pressure. But just my wife's been very great with wanting to equip them with all the tools and skills to be successful. She's been great at that.
And obviously your wife, Allison, had a lot of those tools as well to be able to share, right? Because she was very successful in her career. So how have you seen her with the kids? Like, what has been your biggest takeaway and how she communicates with the kids that you can learn from?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. She is very driven. And so if she puts her mind to something, she can do anything. And she certainly has instilled that in the kids. Being a gymnast is ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
And she had that mindset to be able to be successful at that. And then she could take that skill set and turn it into and be successful at work, to be successful in any facet of her life, sports, work. Yeah. And then she has put that into the kids where, hey, you got to get it done. You have to get it done. You have to perform. And she's been great at coaching them with that type of mentality.
Have you guys found a point where it turns into, because there is a point, I'm trying to dance with it now, where you push too hard to where they want to shut it off, or have your kids all just been really driven to begin with, and it's hard to find that point?
Yeah, Adam, that is a very good question. I would probably say every parent wrestles with that. Push, are you pushing too hard? Push hard enough. Every parent wrestles with that, and it's a fine line. You got to push them, and am I pushing too hard? Is it too much? But I just got to keep pushing. We have pushed our kids. Allison certainly has pushed the kids, and they become incredible athletes. And I think there's just a lot that gets you. It builds character, and you learn to overcome challenges. And but it is a fine line. I guess every kid and every parent has to make their own judgment.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie? I'm going to forget it now. Whiplash?
I've not.
So first off, great movie. Highly recommend you watch it. But it's about a drummer who, he's a younger guy, and he's really striving to be an amazing drummer inside of like these great. I'm not a musician by any stretch, but these really impressive music schools and all these things. And the instructor is just like the kind of guy who will bash you constantly and curse in your face. He like launches a cymbal across the room at the kids because they're like not hitting the beat at the right time. And
Sure.
He just like, and it was one of those that in the movie, he talks about how some of the best musicians had coaches like him, had like teachers like him. And it was like, did the teacher bring out the best, or was the best always ready to come out? And it's one of those balance, like, okay, well, if I push really hard, am I going to bring out the best, or am I going to just like tamp it down and make them not want to play anymore? Because that's the other side is, well, they only stopped playing because they weren't the best, right? And it's, boy, like I don't know the balance. Like, is it that, hey, he's not the best, so he's just going to quit, or is it, no, he quit because you're being a jerk, Dad? And it's like, I don't really know where to go.
And I don't have a good answer on that either.
Well, what the heck, Matt? Like, you're supposed to have all the answers. That's why I brought you on here.
I don't have the answer on that one. I think every parent wrestles with that.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the dads who are very overboard on the golf course, especially. Like, it's such a mental game, golf is, and they're very overboard on the golf course. And I'm like, the kid is 8. Like, why are you so over the top on an 8-year-old on the golf course? And then at the same point, I think to myself, well, the kid's really good, so maybe that has something to do. I don't know, So, but I'm just going to continue doing what I think is best for my kids, and I think that's the best we can do. It's. And I think I've said this on the podcast before, but Jocko Willink, recently I was listening to him, and he was talking about when he was an instructor for the SEAL teams, they would be watching, and there'd be multiple cadre watching different things. And from where he's sitting, he's like, that was a terrible decision that person's making. And then he goes over and talks to one of the other instructors. They're like, oh no, like the way that his point of view, he was able to see X, Y, or Z. And that's why he didn't do that. And he's like, well, I didn't see that at all from my perspective. So then they go and talk to the person on the ground and say, okay, well, what was your decision making? He's like, well, I saw this, I saw that. But, the mission went to crap. And he was like, okay, but you made the best decision with the information you had at the time.
Yes.
And what like, what more can we ask for but for us and our kids to make the best decision we can with the information we have at the time?
You're correct.
Right now, the information I have is to push my kids and drive them because I'm not seeing anything that says I can't or shouldn't. Then that's what I'm going to do. I obviously need to open my brain and be able to open to seeing the things that, because if I neglect to learn something that I know is out there, then that's my fault. And I am failing at that point. But if it's not there, then it's not there. So just kind of keep on pulling in as much info as I can and keep on pressing.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you guys have done a great job with that, with all of the championships going on in your house. And that's really awesome to see. What kind of feedback have you received from your kids about whether it's sports or about business or about life that has let you know that you're doing good? And what kind of feedback have you gotten from your kids that have let you know you're doing bad?
They're very. I've been since I joined GoBundance. I've been talking a lot about real estate, and so they're definitely excited about learning about real estate and investing. I didn't get a ton of that growing up, and so I'm letting them know there's a lot to learn out there, and there's all these different. It's more than just homes and flipping homes. There's RV parks and self storage and mobile home parks, and there's lots of things to learn and do, and a lot of asset classes to learn to figure out, and so. And let's see, what was the rest of the question?
Well, yeah, it was like, what kind of feedback have they given you that lets you know you're doing good, and what sort of feedback have they given you that let you know that you're doing bad?
Well, one thing I'm doing, and one thing I'll take it in this direction. One thing that I'm doing with the kids when I came back from my first GoBundance event ever was in Dallas, and Travis Bell spoke, and he's the bucket list guy, and I was I still have his book here. I can keep it with me all the time. And I wanted to really implement this with the kids. And this is something that I wanted to do with them. And most guys think about when they're doing their one sheet or whatever, they're thinking about their bucket list. I don't want to poke anything, but they're thinking about their stuff. And I'm putting my stuff down. And I said, you know what? I get my bucket list down. I said, I need to do this with my kids. I need to figure out what their bucket list stuff is so that I know what what's important. So I know what's important to them in life. And one step further is I said, I need to do this with my wife. I need to understand what her bucket list is so that I can make her goals my goals. Mm-hmm. And so very quickly I guess that was early into 2023 after an ice hockey game, my son and I went to a diner. And on the back of the checks I carry around with me every day in my book, in the back of a little check, we wrote down. I said, Easton, what's important to you, buddy? And we wrote down a whole bunch of stuff that he wanted to try to do in the year. He wanted to go to a Caps ice hockey game. He wanted to rent jet skis at the lake house. He wanted to jump off like a high jump or a pool high jump. He wanted to go snowmobiling. He wanted to go skiing. He wanted to do some type of flying with his uncle. He wanted to do an RV camping trip, and he wanted to go to a NASCAR race. And so I was like, wow, okay, this is great. And because I have the list, we can start planning these things out. We can start doing things. And we got about 80% of that done just last year. And then the other stuff will roll over to next year. And then so on my one sheet, what I said over Christmas, because we're sitting at home and it's the end of the year and all the kids are home. So on my one sheet, the cool thing about the bucket list book, it gives you like an architecture because it's not just travel and trips. It gives you a cool architecture for things to think about. So it's like meet a personal hero. So who's a hero in your life?
Ooh, nice. What
are your proudest achievements? Buy that something special. Ultimate challenges. Conquer a fear. And so conquer a fear was be on a podcast. So you are helping me achieve one of my bucket list items. Kind act for others, express yourself, take lessons, leave a legacy, idiotic stuff, satisfy a curiosity, and travel adventures. And that's my bucket list down there. And so travel adventures is just one of the things. So with each of the kids on my one sheet under the bucket list tab, I have all those items lined up. And then the kids, and I say, each kid has a line. Hey, who's your hero? What is a challenge you want to do this year? And one thing that was really cool that came out of that was my daughter wanted to run a half marathon. And my daughter Brinkley, and I was looking under ultimate challenges. And then under my ultimate challenges, I was looking for a Yogi for 2024. I was like, oh, I can't barely run 2 miles right now because my knee hurts. I was like, oh, I'll run a half marathon with you. Let's do it when we go to the beach this summer. So because I had her bucket list, I was able to line up 2 activities, and now we can create a memory together and run a half marathon on the beach this summer when we're having a family vacation. And so that is something that it's awesome to think that all this came together from GoBundance and understanding my kids, their biggest wishes and desires. And then you can look, and some things have already come true from, we put down there in Christmas this year, we put some things down for my kids, and some things we've already been able to check off some stuff. And man, does that feel good to show them, hey, look, we got this done. We did this. And so
I love that so much.
It's create memories with your kids and your family is really special. And that's one thing that's awesome about GoBundance is about the family time, the making memories, the time doing big things. And you certainly can't take, the money with you and do those great, amazing things with your kids and your family. And so it certainly adjusted my mindset around that. Like this weekend, we're going to play, my daughter Brinkley and I, we're going to Delaware Turf to play field hockey all weekend. Instead of driving back and forth, I said, she loves the beach. I said, let's run a beachfront condo. We're going down to the beach, you and me. We rented a fun Ford Bronco just to drive something fun down for the weekend on the Toro. You got me on the Toro. And so we're renting a Bronco. We're driving to the beach. We're going to do a lot of field hockey, but in our time off, we'll be able to sit on our patio and go out to dinner and eat on the water and just like really bond. And I probably wouldn't have done that, taking advantage of that time, if it hadn't been for GoBundance and bucket list stuff and just knowing what your kids want. So I hope that answers the question.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I love the marrying up of and that's something I'm trying to do constantly is marry up what I'm doing in my business life with my kids and how I can do all of that. And learning about the stuff in our business life can really affect how we even communicate with our kids about the stuff, or the mistakes that we're making, all the different things that we could do. And like the marrying up of your bucket list stuff, your personal bucket list with your kids' bucket list. Absolutely love. This year was the first year I've done that with my kids where I sat down. I mean, my 2 oldest are 9 and 5. So sitting down, okay, what are your bucket list items, right? One of them is, go camping. Okay, easy. Like that's for a 5-year-old, that's clearly a bucket list item is to go camping, right? So, I mean, we've done camping in the backyard together, but that was not quite the camping. Like, one of the things that my 5-year-old wants to do, he's like, I want to go camping somewhere where I can go into a cave where there are bats. And I was like, all right, now I got to find somewhere we can go camping where there's a cave that are bats, And one of the things they wanted to do, they were learning in something in homeschool where there's a massive banyan tree down in like Fort Myers, Florida. So my wife had a day off from work, and we said, all right, let's jump in the car. So we just jumped in the car and hit one of their things that they wanted to do, a little mini family adventure. Went to this large banyan tree and checked out all these different things. And I was like, what the heck? Like, it's one of the beauties about working from home and doing the homeschool thing that I do now. And I'm just like, I can. Wherever, like if it's a moment where the kids are ready and I can bring them there, like let's do it. Why? Like don't waste the time. Take advantage of it because you have in here one of your favorite books that you mentioned was The Family Board Meeting. And when you only have 18 summers and you only have these things that you need to do with your family, like putting that as a priority, well over making a bajillion dollars or whatever it is. I've called multiple people out on their bucket list stuff like you're saying about, where's your family on any of this? Like your family has nothing to do with your bucket list stuff, really? Like none of the biggest things you have in your life you want to do with your wife and kids. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, yeah, I totally do, And I made that mistake massively when I built my entire future, my wife's future, my kids' future, my future. I wrote it all out on a piece of paper and never talked to my wife and kids about it at all. I just said, no, this is our future. And it was like, you selfish idiot, like, no, like they have a huge part in this. So I mean, absolutely love that you're already engaged in doing that and crushing that. But tell me about the family board meeting. I know that was an important book for you, but tell me about like what you're implementing from it, what you took away from that, and how your family has been kind of.
I know a lot of guys have read it. I was late to the game, but I was like, okay, give me the book. I'll read that thing. And I got a big stack of books. It's funny thing is I wasn't even a reader, and in the last year I've become a voracious reader. Nice. And family board meeting was one that was I think maybe the second or third book I read, and I was like, hey, this is about just taking advantage of the time. And so that just goes back a little bit to taking advantage of the time we have. We can't travel a ton with the kids, but it's just making the best memories with what you can do. And so, like I mentioned, the trip to the beach this weekend, we're there to play field hockey, but we're going to make the most of every minute while we're there and be on the beach and go for walks and go and have lunch on the dinner on the water. And so, and then with my son, that's why I was really passionate about always making sure we went on a ski trip each year, even though it was just for 2-3 days, like a weekend. We would squeak up to Killington and go skiing. And so, but that book just gives you kind of like a lens to be looking through. I'm not able to do something every month with my kids, but when you get that opportunity, the lens of like, let's make this really special. How do we do it? Taking advantage of that little bit of time that you do have, because I do have a daughter in college, and she's not at home anymore. It's, we went out to dinner last night for my daughter's birthday, my other daughter Brinkley, and it's like, oh man, we just got to see her. And then my other daughter next year is going to go to college, so it's going to be just Easton and my wife and I at home. It's going to be, quieter, and the kids are gone, and so you don't know what's going to happen after college, if they're going to move back in or if they're not. And my kids are great. Everybody gets along. I'm super lucky in that regard with everybody's very harmonious in our house. My daughters are best friends, that they laugh and joke. They have an incredible relationship, which I'm so happy about. Their joking and friendship is amazing, and I just feel so blessed by that, because I know many families where the kids claw tooth and nail and absolutely hate each other, and what that does to a family. We all get along, all the kids get along, and it is amazing. And so we just want to try to take advantage of all the time we have together, because there are 2 girls one in college, another one going to college, and so it's like, let's make the most of these. Like, really hone in on trying to make the most of the time together.
For sure. Yeah. And it's one of those, you don't realize how quick it went away until it's gone, right? Because everybody talks about how, man, they grew up so fast. And it's like, well, yeah, we hear that from everybody, but yet for some reason, some of us, it takes a little longer than others to get it through our thick skull that it really does disappear pretty quickly. So take advantage of every moment you have.
Yep. Yes, it does.
It's tough. That's one of the reasons when I went to Vermont, I grabbed the car and I said, I'm going to take the boys. Like, me and the boys are going to do a road trip. So we did a road trip from Florida all the way to Vermont. We stopped at a couple different spots. I got to see some friends. I was like, I'm going to spend some time with the boys because I've got the extra days. I do homeschool, so they've got the extra time. What the heck? They could do some schoolwork at the back, and we could stop and do a snowball fight in the middle of North Carolina because we can. So that's what we did. Like, take advantage of the adventure and find the opportunities that you can.
I applaud you for the homeschooling. That is, to be able to have that time to do what you want is awesome. So we're looking into that for my son, and I applaud you for doing it. For that, that's good. That's living big and grabbing life big, and being able to do what you want with your kids and your family when you want, and go on adventures and do stuff and bond. And I applaud you for taking those steps.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You've talked about your brother Brad a couple times, and he's a business partner of yours. Does he have kids as well? He
does. He has a boy and a girl, Leo and Iris. Yep.
Okay. And how old are they? Are they close to the age of your kids?
They are close in age. Yes, they are. Man, they are. You got me on this one. Let's see.
So it doesn't have to be exact. That's all right.
They're like 10 and 8, somewhere in that department. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So, and the reason I'm asking is you talked about the succession planning that you had that you'd been discussing, and now it's you and your brother over the business. Now, how much conversation have you two had about what the business does with the 5 kids that are below you guys now, coming in?
We have not gotten that far, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. We are in the grind here currently, and we are trying to do big things. So we have not gotten that far to what it's going to look like, Yeah.
So do you know Adam Hill? He's in GoBundance?
I do not.
Okay, so he is running a very large family business right now that's been in for a while, and like the succession planning was not well thought out at all. So he's been struggling with what that looks like, because now you're talking about 4th cousins twice removed that have some ownership in the company, and it's like, well, how do we actually do anything with the company? So I'd recommend, reaching out to him. He said he's learned a ton about like making sure the planning is done right and how to handle those things off and what kind of trust to use and what not to and all the stuff. But Adam Hill would be, I think, a good resource for you as you're kind of working on building that part out. Because to your point, like you could set everything up in your own personal life to say, hey, this is what we need. This is where my family's, all my ownership is going in this trust and all the stuff. But if it's not all already lined up with your brother on that business side of the house too, it could really screw some things up on how you guys want the business to go. But it has. So with you and Brad, are you having conversations about at all like your kids jumping into the business? I know you mentioned that you'd like to maybe have them be able to run one of the extra businesses. Has that been a part of the conversation between you two?
We are not at that level yet. We are not having those conversations yet. Yeah.
Well, when are you going to?
That's a good question. Adam, I will let you know.
Yeah. Because you've already expressed that you would love to be able to do that, and you as the visionary, that's probably where your brain always goes is, all right, well, I'm growing this thing and I'm building this stuff and all these things. Does he play more of a visionary role or is he more of an integrator role?
He's much more of an integrator.
Okay.
He's much more of an integrator, and that's one of the reasons why we work so well together.
Awesome.
We have different personalities and different strengths, and we have never actually even argued at work once. We have agreed,
really?
even on the COO that we just hired and went through, umpteen resumes and umpteen amount of interviews. We both were like, he's the guy.
That's
how about that?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
It was pretty, I was like, there's no way we're going to, I didn't say it, but I'm like, I didn't say that we were not going to probably agree, but I was sort of thinking in the back of my head and I was like, sure enough, we both were like, he's the guy. So that was pretty sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's got to be a rare one for sure, is to have you guys work so well together. Because I've heard such horror stories about working with your family. That it's like,
my dad and his brother did not get along. My dad and his brother did not get along, and so my brother Brad and I are very cognizant of that.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So how did that? So as you guys were growing up, did you see that they did not get along in the business?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
How did that go? How did you, what did you guys see and how have you guys talked about it to make sure that doesn't go with you?
Great, Adam. That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. So we saw a lot of dysfunction between my dad and his brother. And so like a lot of decisions were made that weren't great. So my dad bought out his brother. Okay. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it was, we went through a buyout, and then just a lot of decisions were made based on emotion, and things maybe could have been a little bit different. But so my brother Brad, he worked at the company for a little bit, and then he left and did some other things. Worked in real estate and had a few different jobs. He actually worked for a tech startup in the medical field, but he decided he wanted to come back to the business, and so what we did was we actually wrote up an agreement, we wrote up a contract. My brother Brad and I wrote a contract, and it said, we will work together harmoniously with respect. Our core values were respect, positive attitude, professionalism, and integrity. And we said, we will live by these rules. We both signed the contract. And it said because I'd already worked at the company maybe 10 or 15 years at that point. And the contract said if there's any problems with respect, integrity, like we're not getting along, the contract read that Brad would step out of the business. And I would, and so it was a brother contract because we wanted to maintain the family harmony. And we both realized that ultimately the family harmony was more important than money. And so we said, let's put this agreement in place. And I actually hung it on the wall in my office for years and years and years. It hung on the wall put it up. And so we could look at it every day and make sure that we were, being true to ourselves. And, it doesn't hang there anymore because long story, COVID, moving offices, this, that, but we still work very well together every day. And that's definitely something to be very proud of.
I am so happy I asked that question because that is an amazing response. I had It's one of the things we talk about in GoBundance too, okay, to keep bringing that up around, but it's made a big impact to both of our lives, GoBundance has. So is like the GoPods having contracts with each other on this is what we're holding each other to. And that when you're signing something like that and you're putting that in your mentality, it's the same reason like when you go to a car dealership and they're like, hey, if we can agree on terms at the end of the day, you know, will you agree to buy a car, you know, sign this thing. And like, just because mentally signing something brings you in, it feels like you have that connection and you have to do it. And you remember signing that thing because that means a lot in our culture, signing something. You know, just like a handshake used to mean something. It doesn't seem to anymore, but it used to mean something, right? You know, like signing that contract. So I would imagine that mentally, both of you remember like the emotional pull that has signing that contract with each other. This is what we're agreeing to, and we're going to do these things. And you know, have there ever been moments where you had to like call each other out on it, him call you out, or you call him out on it and be like, hey, like, you know, we're getting close to this, or you know, I'm seeing issues here, or you know, like this doesn't seem to be in line with what we signed?
It has not happened.
So awesome. Cal,
yeah,
what a blessing.
Yeah, it is a blessing. Yeah,
that's phenomenal.
We both understand we've been through a program called the Landmark Forum, and it just really gets you to clear up anything that's in your past, because don't let the past create your future, that type of stuff. So you clear up stuff from the past, and it's just really big on open and honest communication. And so if you have those things, you have the tools to get stuff off your chest or get it out of your head, and you can have open and honest dialogues without emotion. You know, then you can be productive.
Yeah. And the hard part is that without emotion part, because, you know, it can be a bit emotional, but I love that you guys have tied the family side to it being so much more important than the business side of it. And that's something that I'm really, especially, you know, with talking about BizDad type stuff, like, you know, that when I have people that reach out to me to get on the podcast, and all I see on there is all of their business stuff and not much about their family stuff, I'm probably not going to bring you on, because the family stuff actually means a lot more to me than the business stuff. I want to talk business stuff. That's part of us being entrepreneurs. But if you don't have the family stuff right, then like, come on, it doesn't really matter how much your business crushes it. It really doesn't, because it's like, that's all fleeting. And just a couple, like last weekend, I spoke about being a dad at the Florida GoBundance event.
Oh, nice.
And just like different tools that I use and different thoughts that I have on it, and how like it doesn't matter whether your business lasts 50 years if your family falls apart after you, right? Because like the family legacy is what really holds that business together. Like, it's not, you know, if you look at all of the, you know, what is it, the you know, if you look at all the crazy, you know, unbelievably amazing businesmen that we've had in our past, and all of the wealth that disappears, what is it, three generations from shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve type of thing, you know, where, you know, it takes 3 generations to lose that entire stuff, because the family was never the core part of it. It's always been about the money or the business. So, you know, I always try to emphasize that. And I love that that's something that you guys, you and your brother put together and saw the struggles that your dad and his brother had, and said, you know, we're not going to have those struggles.
I think also, Adam, also, that's something that's really important to talk about in business and in your family is your core values.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of people will talk about core values at their work, and they, you know, you've got them displayed at the work, but who has core values at their house? And are you communicating those to your children? And are those proudly displayed in your house? And so when we were, you know, having trouble with the kids and misbehaving and being disrespectful, we had a full sit down and we drew up the core values in the kitchen. And I was like, what do we need? I said, you guys, family is the most important thing in your life. Family is going to be who's there for you. You know, your family is everything, and keeping the family harmony is everything. And I said, what do we need? What do we need to be as a family to be successful? And we came up, and I would ask, what do we need? What do we need? And we came up with that we need to be respectful to each other. We need to be loving to each other, and we need to be honest. So respectful, loving, and honest became the Eyre family values in the kitchen. And they were up on the chalkboard and proudly displayed. And it was something that I wanted to instill in the kids, is how important it is. And for the dads listening, you know, how important they are at work and how everyone functions at work. What are the values? this is how we're working together. We want to have a successful, harmonious business, but also in the house, like, hey, are you talking to your kids about the values at home and what do we need to be a successful family? If we don't have these things, the family's not going to work really well. It's going to be very clunky and not, enjoyable. And we want to be loving. We came up with those values work for us, and they resonated, with everybody around the whole family around the table.
I love it. Yeah, that was actually something I talked about in that talk as well. Is like, when we run EOS, you have core values, and your core values are supposed to hire and fire based on your core values. If somebody's not meeting those core values, they're fired. Like, they've got to go, because they're not going to be pushing the company in the direction that we need. And obviously, you can't fire your son, or the son can't fire you, right? But you can make your decisions in your life, in your family, based off of those core values. Is this trip going to, show that we're respectful to each other, loving to each other, and honest with each other? Am I showing up in a respectful, loving, honest way for my family, to where we can call each other out? And then it's the group that has come up with that. Like, we as a family came up with these. So, like, hey, Dad, that wasn't a very loving way to react in the way this happened, and we can't you can't fault the kid for saying that, because, hey, you are absolutely right. And that's something that, in our businesses, we want to do that all the time. Like, hey, you're not being resilient today, or you're not, whatever it is. Like, you're kind of, you're not showing up the way you need to based off of our core values. But, if you don't have that same kind of thought process with your kids, then, like, what the heck's the point? Like, you've got to have these things to grow as a family. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, thanks. We in work, we call it a framework, and it provides a real framework for open and honest dialogues with people. And when you commit to the values, you're like, hey, this is what we're, like you said, this is how we're hiring and firing. And so everyone's got to be on board with the values.
Yep. I just, so when we were in Vermont, I was at Fambundance, and we redid, like, we had talked about core values as a family, but we never created them. So this was the first time we actually created them. I've got them put out. My assistant put it all together on a poster board that I'm going to print out in a 24 by 36 size and have it hanging up in our kitchen. Or I don't know where it's going to hang yet, but it's going to hang up in there, so that we can always look to them. And, we just created a bunch of adjectives, a bunch of words that we really liked, and then kind of used ChatGPT to help us create a definition for those words, right? So, maybe adventure is one of our core values, right? So if adventure is one of them, and we found a few words that really fit underneath that, okay, well, hey, ChatGPT, like, one of our core values is adventure. Can we help us create a definition that includes things like, thrill seeking or whatever it is? And then it created a definition for us. And now we have the name of the core value, and then a little 1-sentence definition of what that actually means.
Would you share your core values?
Yeah, let me pull them up so I don't screw it up. I'll even read what they actually are.
I'd love to hear them.
Like, I'll read the definitions and everything. While I'm doing that, when you guys were sitting down talking about your core values, that way where it's not just this blank spot of me looking at the computer, when you were talking about your core values, how did you guys have the conversation, and how involved were your kids, and how old were they as well?
That's a good. They were in, let's say, middle school, somewhere in that department, and it was just a mess at the house. It was out of necessity because things were not going well,
Yeah.
And we gotta get the kids. This is what's important, guys, and this is not working. We're having this dialogue because we don't have these things, and it's not a harmonious house right now. And we need some. We got to tighten it up because mom and dad are not happy. So we got to get everybody on board with this is what we need. So we didn't set the expectation. So this is what the expectation is. We need everybody on board with these things. And does everybody want to have a loving family? Yes. Okay. Well, this is what we're going to need in order to accomplish that.
That's awesome. The need for that, was that expressed by you or your wife, or did you and your wife both sit down together and go, hey, we really need to make something like this happen?
I came home from work and I knew what I needed to do. It's just like leadership at work and leadership, and I had to provide some leadership at home. And I said, this is what we just like. We're having dialogues with people at work. We need to have set up a framework and have some dialogues at home. And
that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. And that was one of the things that I really tried to, hit hard during that talk is like we know what it takes to run a business. Like we all are running businesses. We're all involved in managing businesses. And you can use some of those same thought processes, those same frameworks we have in running a functional business to run a functional family. Because we have to lead our family, like it has to be there. My wife and I are solid partners in leading our family. But if we don't write down what our goals are, we don't write down what our core values are, we don't write down all these things that we're supposed to be doing with our business, you're going to end up in the same problems with your family. But to go back to what you asked about the Labar family values. So we have collaborative leadership, which is joint decision making and teamwork for shared goals. We have resilience, which is patiently enduring adversity with strength and adaptability. We have unwavering bond, a deep, steadfast connection marked by love and loyalty. Adventurous, so seeking crazy, thrilling experiences through bold exploration. And altruism, selfless concern for others marked by kindness and honesty.
Nice.
So my assistant, so if you look at the BizDad logo and it's got like the family of five sitting there, the shadow of the family of five. So we've got that at the top, which is like my family of five. And it's the Labar family values. So that's going to be printed up and put onto the board. So I'm looking forward to being able to refer to the kids, helped create all of those things, gave us good ideas of what they wanted, all the stuff. Even for some reason, my 10-month-old was not very involved. She did not really pay attention when we were talking about all this stuff.
10 months.
I expected more out of her at that point, but no, she was just kind of hanging out, drooling on stuff. But
how old are your kids?
9, 5, and 10 months.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, and they were all very involved in it. They were actually having a great time with it, and helping me with the Chat GPT, and like, oh yeah, I like that, Dad, or no, I don't like that, Dad, or it was just a lot of fun to be able to build all of that together. I love the exercise. Well, that's great. Yeah. And obviously the exercise worked well for you guys as well. And you guys have, you were doing that back when they were in junior high, and now you've got a college student, and, still sticking to those 3 core values and expressing them. So I love that.
Thank you.
But when you're looking at your business now, what is your, you talked a little bit about some of your goals and where you want to go with the business, having multiple buildings. And I think the last time I talked to you, you were talking about maybe you had just built the, just started the Eyre, what was it called? I've got it written down. The maintenance side of the house. So what is your need now to keep growing, and what is it that you're trying to do inside the business by the end of the year? What are your goals for this year?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we are looking to continue to grow organically on our charter bus side, also on our shuttles. So that would be like maybe some corporate shuttles, some college campus shuttles. We're looking to grow up those opportunities. We're looking to grow up the charter bus side. That would be like, let's say, college athletics and groups of people needing to go somewhere. And then also we're looking to grow grow up the things on the bus side, and then also on the maintenance side, continue to grow that. That is if you read Blue Ocean Strategy, that is a big blue ocean out there. A lot of equipment to work on. I never actually knew how big it was, and I was like, I started looking around. I'm like, wow, there's no shortage of work there. So we're trying to improve our processes in that department to be able to scale up more. So improve processes in there is going to be a big helper. Try to be innovative, trying to be more innovative in both sides, the bus and maintenance, do things better, faster and smarter. And then also our big thing is we're working with our business coach, and he is encouraging us to think bigger. And we're talking now about some acquisitions. And so we're trying to get the right people. Hiring the COO was the first real key piece to plug in. So I can start focusing on other things, bigger ideas, bigger things. And so we're trying to grow through diversification outside of busing. So we're trying to figure out what other businesses we would have a comfort level with that we could, tuck in, or, they say there's all these terms. You got bolt on, tuck in, carve out. There's
nice.
There's all these things, but we're working on currently working on an acquisitions filter, and our buy box statement, where what you can't just say I want to buy a business. It's very boom, 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 boom. There's a lot that goes into that. You can't just do that, in your free time, or, I've got a couple minutes. Let me figure out a business that I want to make. It takes a lot of time and energy, and we're trying to get the right team in place here to free up time to be able to be looking into that.
I love it. And you and your brother, do you guys both go to the business coach?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. He coaches us both.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's actually Frank's
phenomenal.
coach. It's Frank's coach. So we are modeling Frank's success, and we are just a few years behind him. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I've been debating whether or not I should be looking at. So I want to personally buy a small business this year, and or another apartment building, because it's just been a little exhausting the last couple of years. Redoing a bunch of stuff with ADPI, the education company, and doing all of that. It's been a lot of fun, but it's been exhausting, and I haven't put in the effort to, I haven't been able to put in the effort to go buy another business. So I'm creating my buy box right now on what I want to buy and what I want to look at. I'm curious when you're building your buy box, right? Like, because you already probably are pretty sure that you want something that are inside of that transportation realm, or are you looking outside to do something a little bit different? And of course that changes built on.
Adam, that's a great question. And so I would like to say that I had the answer right. We're ready to go. This is our statement, but we are in the infancy stages right now. And the first thing was really just kind of get the COO in place. And now I'm a very action, fast paced. Why this needs to move faster? Why are we moving so slow? But things take time. And those 9 initiatives that I spoke about earlier, they've taken a lot of time, but we know what we want to do, and it's just about figuring out. It's a lot of learning. This is our first time doing this, so we're going to investigate, build the buy box, and then start the process. And I'm very excited about it, and looking forward to going through the process.
Yeah, I want to challenge your thought process. You said it takes a lot of time for those 9 things. It's only been 6 months, and you've crushed through a lot of those 9 things. So I think your version of what takes a lot of time and what truly takes a lot of time might be a little bit different. Maybe it's because of your drive and energy. 6 months feels like a long time, but 6 months is pretty solid to have crushed through a majority of that list.
I'm highly motivated, and we're looking to take a lot of action. So the Go Runners guys have really been very inspiring to get going. Get a move on, and that's what we are trying to do. And I just want to really grow through diversification outside of bus. Something outside of busing. Where is it totally out of transportation? Is it a little bit? Does it? Our niche currently is ground transportation solutions. So what fits kind of in and around that? Or we also would be there's a lot of other reoccurring revenue businesses that are outside of busing that we would certainly entertain.
Yeah,
but it's certainly a learning process. I do not claim to be any type of acquisitions expert at all. So, but we know where we want to go, and we have the right who's helping us. So, I want to say to all the business, huge, all the 9 initiatives on there, they all have a who next to them, and that was a big learning over the past year is who can help you with this, and you can't do it all yourself. And learning that was it's not that you can't do it, but it's bringing who can help you do it faster, who can help you do it better. And
every time you hire somebody, it should be somebody that could do something better than you, and that's why you're hiring them, right? So
exactly.
I would love to hire myself out of a job completely, because I always want, if I can find all the who's that are better than me that I can put in a position to make the company grow better. That's the point. That's how you know that you're building a good team. So I love that, and I'm struggling to remember his name. He's an entrepreneur. He's got the Wealthy Kingdom, and Wealthy has all of his stuff is wealthy stuff. And videos, he used to have multicolored hair and all this stuff. He used to be a professional baseball player. But anyways, I can't remember his name at all. But he's always starting up businesses here and there. And he says he has a ton of ideas and businesses, but if he doesn't know who it's going to run, it goes in the garbage. He's not going to, because he can't be the one to run all the businesses and all the ideas. Right. He's I know how to build them and I know where they need to go, but I need to know I have somebody to run it. And that goes right into who, not how. And if I don't know, I don't need to know how to do it. I just need to know who I need to put in that seat to make sure that it's getting done right.
Yep.
Because to your point, I'm not claiming to be an expert in anything in life. Not a dad, not in business, not in anything. I'm not an expert in anything, but I love to be able to talk to folks who know a lot more than me, which is why I started this podcast, so I could steal everybody's good ideas. But if I can hire people that know a lot more than me, can manage things better than me, then that's where I should be.
Yep. Frank Smolin is an expert at that. If anybody is looking for expertise and learning and knowledge, I've been learning from Frank, and Frank was such a big EOS proponent, and he and a lot of guys are as well. But what Frank's been able to do with EOS is amazing, and also giving him the confidence to for acquisitions. It gives you the confidence. Hey, maybe I don't know about that business, or I don't know how to run that business, but you run the system, and you get the right people in the right seats, and you run the EOS system, and it gives you the confidence that you can be successful.
Yeah,
that's what I've seen out of Frank.
For sure. And Frank's been crushing it. I've loved, I've known him for about 4 years, and just watching all the things that have changed and what he's doing and how he's been growing has been fun to watch.
Yeah, we had his rockstar team last night at our DMV Go Abundance, the Maryland, Virginia, Delaware Go Abundance event. And we had Jason Gennady there. He's actually our implementer. And we did a panel discussion where we had Jason, EOS implementer, actually interviewing Frank as the EOS visionary. And then Frank had his two integrators with him. So you got Frank's rockstar team on the panel, and he's telling his story, and his integrators are there, and Frank's just talking about how he brought these guys in. He says, teams build dreams. And he's got his rockstar team, and he's just, really hockey sticking it. And it was awesome DMV event. And we spent we talked about 45 minutes to an hour on the panel, and just trying to expose other guys, there to try to, hey, this expose them to EOS, and this is what Frank's been able to do. And so it was
that's really cool.
It was very cool.
Yeah, when we first started implementing EOS, I just got on a couple calls with Frank, and I was like, all right, what do I need to know? What am I screwing up? What do I need to be focused on as I'm going through this process? Who needs to be the expert in what? How do I need to, because he's been doing it for years, and I loved, he's been a wealth of information to be able to go. So for those who have not heard that podcast, go back and listen. I think it was in the beginning. It was somewhere in the first 5 episodes I interviewed him. So, when you guys started doing the maintenance side of the house, was that something you guys were already doing internally, and you just saw a need, so you started going external?
Great question. So we were sending our stuff out to, let's say the engine dealers to get the big heavy repairs and transmission replacements. And oh my gosh, so the bus would be gone for over a month. And it was really frustrating that the bus would be gone for so long. And then we'd get it back, and then the work would be shoddy, and the same check engine light would be on, or the same problem would be on. And we would get these massive bills. We're like, oh my God, we're getting this huge bill. The bus has been gone this long. I said, if we're feeling this pain, everybody's feeling this pain.
Yeah.
And so we were fortunate to come into some very smart guys around that time that we were making this decision, guys that knew about technology, knew about the computers, knew about engines. And we brought them on board, and we bought a bunch of equipment like lifts and special jacks, and got a lot of software, and we started doing it ourselves. And then we said, we're going to do this for other people. And so we were spending six figure numbers on outside repairs. Now we're able to turn it into a revenue source for us, where instead of having the bus gone for so long, we could fix it faster and better ourselves. And then we started working on other people's equipment, and we started making money and people were bringing, and it was an easy sell. I was kind of the sales guy because it was my idea. So I'm talking to these other bus companies. I'm talking to other people that have trucks. I'm like, hey, we can work on your stuff. We'll get it in here fast. We're going to do it better. Everybody wants their stuff back quickly. They want it. Yeah. They need the buses or trucks to make money. And we found out if we could do it faster, we would have a lot of happy customers. And that's what we were able to do. It was kind of our big selling point, was we can get it in. We got great guys. We're going to get you in and out of here fast. And we have good guys that care doing the work. And that's how we built it. And then over COVID, we started working on RVs. Which was good for a while, but the RV customer is the consumer, as opposed to the business. It's not B2B. It's an individual. Tina Sue needs her RV going out of town on Sunday, and we get it in, and it needs all kinds of work, and they come in with a big list, and the microwave doesn't work, and we're like, And so when COVID kind of went away and everything was in full swing with all the buses rolling and everybody was coming in, we said, hey, look, let's stop working on RVs. There is a big market there. There's a big market there to work on RVs, but it was not. We were spread a little bit too thin. We said, let's just. Everyone's like, Go abundance is very mile
More
deep,
focus.
inch wide to mile
Yeah.
deep. Everybody says that all over the time. So I was like, okay, let's trim that out and let's focus on at least on what we can do the best.
And EOS makes you do that too, right? Because if it's not in your core focus and why you're doing it, and RVs is not in, a transportation company's core focus,
Yeah.
like it's just not what you do. So, but I love that and part of the entrepreneurial spirit, like you know something, you're feeling a pain, so other people are feeling a pain, so let me find a fix for this. So go and make the fix and taking the action on it. And what kind of conversations did you and your brother have when you knew, like when you said, I know that this needs to happen. Let me talk to Brad and see how this goes. How did the conversations go between the two of you guys to make that go?
He was on board. We were spending big money on sending stuff out, and we were having like daily operational meetings. And when you hear the same, let's say bus 692, and you've heard about it for a month, it's going,
yeah,
okay, it's going to be fixed. It's going to be fixed. It's going to be fixed. And then we pick it up, and then we would drive it back, and then the check engine light comes on, and we had to drive it right back. And so it was like this. He was on board with. He saw the opportunity as well. So it wasn't much of a arm twist. Plus, it was very expensive. So,
yeah, it's cheaper to train a couple people on how to get these things fixed up, than to keep sending all these buses away. But what I mean, as we're kind of wrapping things up here a little bit, what kind of things have I not touched on that you really wanted to hit? I know you had a list of some things that you definitely wanted to hit. I think we got a majority of what you were talking about.
We did get through a good bit of stuff. The bucket list with the kids was a big thing.
Yeah.
The Miracle Morning and was a big thing. The vision board, sharing, I am statements, even just trying to be a good example for your kids. Like I've got my daughter Brinkley right now is doing 75 hard, and I'm very proud of her. And
that's awesome.
The cold plunging has been exciting. We left our pool open until after Christmas, and we were getting in the pool, cold plunging, and that was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
And let's see, things I just want to be able to teach my kids about investing as soon as possible. And it's I want to try to be able to leave a legacy for them and I just want them to be proud of me, and I want to try to just equip them with all the tools that they have. My wife's been an amazing partner and an amazing leader for the kids. And I also want to, I talked a lot about my dad in the beginning and his parents, but I also want to recognize, I didn't get a chance to really recognize my mom, and her name is Joanne Eyre, and she's been an amazing mother and incredibly supportive mother to myself and my two brothers. I have another brother, Kevin. My mom's been great, and they've been great grandparents, and we're going to go see them next week down in Naples for spring break with the kids.
Awesome.
So, but I did want to just recognize my mom on the podcast. I didn't get really a chance to talk about her in the beginning.
Yeah, no sweat. So one of the things that you said, I want to go back to. You said you want your kids to be proud of you. Yeah. What does that mean? Like them being proud of you? What does that mean to you? And what does that show up like in your life?
Great question. So I just want them to be like, wow, my dad did everything he could for me to be successful. My dad gave me this knowledge. He gave me these opportunities. He equipped me with the knowledge to be able to have passive income streams, to know about passive income streams. That's one of the things on my Leave a Legacy. It's that the kids have like a real estate empire, or they know how to they're very wise with passive investing, and they know how to do things, or they're even in vertical. Maybe they're to be super smart in business, and that's why I do try to talk a lot about what's going on in business at home. And I want them just to have the tools and the knowledge to be way more successful than me, and not to have to work as hard as me.
Yeah, that's I think that should be a goal of all of ours, right? I tell my sons all the time, my goal is for them to be better men than me. So if they become better men than me, then I've met my biggest goal in life, other than to be an amazing husband. Because that's going to outlast the kids, right? Because once the kids are out of the house, I still have to be a good husband, right? So, what are you going to do if your kids completely they start doing some stuff? They're like, I have no desire anymore to look at real estate. I don't want to do that at all. Like, I appreciate it, Dad, but that business real estate I really hate all of that. What are your thoughts about that?
They can do it. They can blaze. I want them to blaze their own path. Absolutely. And I just hope that I can inspire them, to be on a mission to fulfill their ambition. And, I'm just trying to be the one that really, why I'm so motivated is I just really want to be the one that changes the trajectory of our family. I want to be the guy that changes the trajectory for the family is, really leaves an impact and a legacy for the children.
That's awesome. I love how passionate you are about it. I loved all the stories that you had behind that. And you could see the excitement. If you guys are just listening to this, you won't catch it as much. But the excitement that Matt has as you've been bouncing around and grabbing the notebooks and showing different things, and you could just see it all over your face when you start talking about this stuff. I've absolutely loved it and enjoyed it. But I know you don't have any social media, but if anybody wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Just shoot me an email. It's really simple. It's matte@eyre.com.
matte@eyre.com. Matt, I've really enjoyed chatting with you and getting to know you on a different level. Obviously, we've hung out quite a few times, but never getting to this level on a lot of these conversations. So I've really appreciated your time. Thank you for the dedication that you give to your family. I love the passion you have behind it. So keep rocking it. I look forward to actually meeting your kids in person as well. One day, maybe our families get together and go hang out, bring the small ones along if we have to, and then and continue having a good time. But thank you again so much, Matt. And I, for those of you who did not catch this is Matt's very first podcast. So thank you for using my platform, the BizDad podcast, to jump into the podcast game. Now it's time for you to step it up and go get onto a bunch more.
Conquering bucket list stuff. So thanks, Adam. The pleasure's been all on this side of the table, buddy.
Thank you so very much. Stick around for a second. And for everybody else who's listening, please subscribe, especially if you're in the DMV area. Reach out to Matt. I'm sure he would be a wealth of knowledge for you, as you could tell on this call. But again, please subscribe, all those things I'm supposed to say at the end of podcasts. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you on the next show.